Mysterious deaths surround an American ambassador. Could the child that he is raising actually be the Antichrist, the devil's own son? This is from the 1976 movie The Omen. Warning: spoilers and creepy content ahead. Rome, Italy, June 6, 1966, 6 a.m. Robert Thorne is an American diplomat who hurries to a local hospital where his pregnant wife is going into labor. When he gets to the hospital, he is informed that his child was a stillbirth. A priest named Father Spoleto then offers him the choice to adopt a baby boy just born at the same time who has no parents. Thorne is reluctant to do so, but knowing his wife will be devastated by the news of the death of her real child, he agrees to the adoption. The boy is called Damien and moves to England with his mother and father when his father is appointed U.S. ambassador to England. When Damien is celebrating his 5th birthday party, the family's nanny hangs herself in front of everyone, and at the same time, the house is being watched by a Rottweiler dog. In the background, a news photographer named Keith Jennings is present taking pictures. A few days later, a new nanny, named Mrs. Baylock, is sent to replace her, but it is clear that she is not as she seems. Mrs. Baylock immediately challenges Kathy Thorne's authority when she is instructed to dress and ready Damien to attend a church wedding with them, but she does as she is told. As Thorne leaves the house, he is badgered by Jennings about circumstances around the previous nanny's death. The Thornes travel to the church one Sunday and Damien becomes more fearful as their car approaches the church. He has a violent reaction in which he injures his mother trying to get away. The car pulls away hurriedly, and while the Thornes discuss Damien's reaction and whether he should be examined by a doctor, they realize he has never been sick a day in his life. Later, in his office, Thorne is visited by a priest, named Father Brennan, who claims to have been present during Damien's birth in Rome 5 years ago. He begs Thorne to accept Christ, because only then can he fight the son of the devil. The priest is escorted out by security, and Jennings takes note of the visitor, snapping pictures. While developing the pictures of the day, Jennings notices the priest has a dark object like a javelin over his head in the pictures he appears in, but the anomaly doesn't appear anywhere else on the film. The next scene shows Kathy Thorne with Damien, traveling through a safari park, and various animals react with fear or anger towards Damien. It climaxes in a harrowing scene where a group of baboons attack the car that Kathy is driving, forcing her to speed away. Meanwhile, Robert Thorne is followed by the priest that met with him earlier and is pulled aside at a public event. The priest tells him that his wife is in danger and he needs to talk to him. Jennings is also at the event, taking pictures. The pictures again show the dark anomaly above the priest. The next day, when Thorne meets with the priest again, Father Brennan again tells him that Damien is the son of the devil, born of a jackal, and will kill everyone around him and will kill his wife's unborn child as well as his wife. The priest instructs Thorne to go to Israel to the city of Megiddo to find a man who can tell him how to kill the son of the devil. Brennan tells Thorne about an ancient prophecy that an Antichrist will be born, grow to manhood, and take over the world and lead it into death and destruction. Thorne thinks he is crazy and says never to bother him again. As the priest leaves the park, a sudden rainstorm comes up and the priest is impaled by a church spire in a freak accident while trying to get into a nearby church. Thorne goes home and his wife tells him she is pregnant. Startled by this news, he also receives a phone call telling him to examine the newspaper's cover story about the priest's bizarre death. Kathy has been agitated by Damien of late, causing her to visit a therapist, and tells Robert she wants to terminate the pregnancy. Disturbed by this, Thorne decides to go to the therapist to discuss Kathy's concerns. While Thorne is out, Damien's mother falls over a banister after being knocked over by Damien, injuring her and thusly killing her unborn child. Jennings calls for Robert Thorne to meet him and he shows him the photographic anomalies with the old nanny and Father Brennan. Thorne tells him about the priest's warnings. Jennings takes Thorne to the priest's residence, which he has access to due to the police investigation into his death, and they find an odd collection of crosses and Bible pages everywhere. Thorne and Jennings travel to Italy together to find the priest that gave him Damien at the hospital. They quickly learn that the hospital where Damien was born burned down in a mysterious fire 5 years ago, along with all the birth records. They go and find the priest, Father Spoleto, living in a remote monastery only to find him in very grave health. He is severely burned and has movement only in his left hand. Using a piece of charcoal, the priest points him in the direction of Damien's true mother. Thorne and Jennings travel to a local cemetery that lies in ruins, the former site of a shrine dedicated to the devil god Tekelka. They find the grave sites of both Damien's mother and the Thorne's baby. The mother's grave contains a jackal's remains, and the other grave contains a baby whose skull was crushed. Thorne realizes his baby was murdered, apparently by Spoleto and the satanic conspirators, in order to swap its place with Damien. As they leave the cemetery, they are attacked by a pack of dogs led by a black Rottweiler, and manage to escape. Robert calls his wife who is in hospital and tells her to come to Italy. However, she is thrown out of the hospital window by Mrs. Baylock as she gets up out of her bed. Back at the hotel, Thorn receives a phone call and finds out his wife has apparently jumped to her death from her hospital room. In his grief, he tells Jennings that he wants to go to Megiddo and that he wants Damien to die. Thorn and Jennings travel to Jerusalem and find that Megiddo is an archaeological dig, almost completely underground. A man appears and takes them to Carl Bugenhagen, the man the priest told Thorn to find. Bugenhagen is an elderly English archaeologist who tells Thorn that he has been expecting him. He insists on talking to Thorn alone as Jennings is forced to wait outside the dig site. Bugenhagen gives Thorn 7 special daggers, explains their significance and how to kill Damien. He also tells Thorn that Damien will have the mark of the beast, 3 6s, somewhere on his body. Thorn and Jennings leave, and Thorn flings the bundle of knives away saying he won't kill a child. Jennings goes after the knives, saying he will do it, and is suddenly killed in a freak accident when a truck mysteriously shifts into reverse by itself and a sheet of glass slides off the truck and decapitates Jennings in front of Thorn. Thorn flies home alone with the knives, determined to kill Damien. When he returns to his house that night, he finds a Rottweiler dog waiting for him. He succeeds in trapping it in the basement. Thorn then takes some scissors and searches the sleeping Damien's scalp for a birthmark in the form of a series of 3 6s. Upon doing so, he discovers the 6s and all doubt about Damien's true identity are diminished. Mrs. Baylock then attacks him and as he takes Damien down the stairs, he fights her briefly before stabbing her with a kitchen knife. He then drags Damien into his car and speeds off to the local church. A police officer sees him speeding and pursues him. Thorn drives to the church with several police cars on his tail. He goes into the church and takes Damien kicking and screaming to the altar. He is about to stab him with the daggers, but he is shot by a police officer. The film ends with Robert Thorn and his wife's funeral in Arlington National Cemetery. Damien is seen having been adopted by Robert's brother, who is the President of the United States. Damien looks into the camera and smiles somewhat menacingly as the prophecy of the Antichrist is being fulfilled. Thanks for watching Horror Movie Recap. Subscribe for more videos like this, give us a like to help out, and don't forget to turn on notifications.